Hello and a very warm welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now, before I start this video, could I please ask that if you like my content to like and subscribe, as it does help push out my videos on YouTube. Now, many people consider Italy the most beautiful country in the world and dream of buying real estate here. The good news is that in most parts of Italy, property is very affordable and in many cases, very, very cheap. Of course, there are parts of Italy where real estate is very expensive, notably on the Amalfi Coast, Portofino, Capri, Forte dei Marmi, and in cities like Milan, Venice, Florence, and to a lesser extent, Bologna and Naples. Now, before I give you my top 10 places to buy real estate in 2025, I just want to mention a few places that are wonderful places but didn't quite make the cut. In Puglia, the cities of Bari, Lecce, and Trani would certainly have made a top 20 list, as would Parma and Ravenna in the region of Emilia-Romagna. The city of Lucca in Toscana, where property prices average less than 2,300 euros per square meter, is also worth considering. For those of you who want to buy in the capital, Rome, prices for a historic and beautiful city are very reasonable at an average of around 3,400 euros per square meter, which is several times less than cities like London and Paris and is equivalent to cities like Zagreb. So I think that puts Rome in quite a decent light. Anyway, here are my top 10 places to buy real estate in Italy. And please let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below and why. So, coming in at number 10 is Lake Como. Now, when people think of the real estate market here, they often think of multi-million pound properties, which are out of reach for most people. But this is not the case, as there are a number of towns around the lake where real estate is actually very affordable. In my opinion, the best three places to buy are Lecco, Bellano, and my personal favorite, Mandello dell'Ario, with its beautiful churches. Now, all three towns have railway stations with direct connections to Milan in about an hour or so. In Bellano, property costs just over 2,000 euros per square meter on average. In Lecco, 2,250 euros per square meter on average. And in Mandello dell'Ario, nearly 2,300 euros per square meter on average, which is still reasonable, but it's a 15% increase on last year. So not quite as affordable as last year. Now, coming in at number 9 is Perugia. Now, Perugia is the capital of the lovely region of Umbria. It has a population of just over 160,000 and is a beautiful city. It has an amazingly beautiful cathedral, many nice churches, and a number of annual festivals take place here. The Jazz Festival is the best known one. Perugia has two universities and transport wise is well connected with two railway stations and an international airport, which flies to a number of European destinations, including London, Brussels, Rotterdam, Barcelona, Krakow, Bucharest, Tirana, and Malta. Now, given all this, I think property prices are very cheap. They are less than 1,300 euros per square meter on average. And even if you buy in the center, you will be able to find property in the center for less than 1,500 euros per square meter. Very good value. Now, coming in at number 8 is Vercelli. Now, I am sure many of you watching this video will not have heard of Vercelli, but this city of 46,000 in Piemonte, roughly halfway between Turin and Milan, is a jewel in the crown of the Piemonte region. There are many interesting landmarks, including a Gothic-style basilica, a lovely cathedral, and castle. And there are many other nice churches as well. And you've got some amazing Roman relics. Vercelli is a very walkable city with many pedestrian only streets, and there are plenty of excellent restaurants, good medical facilities, and by direct train, you can be either in Turin or Milan in under an hour. And best of all, property prices here are amazingly cheap. So we are talking an average of around 950 euros per square meter. Now that is dirt cheap. So coming in at number 7 is Vicenza. Now, situated in the rich Veneto area of Italy, Vicenza, with a population of around 110,000, is one of the most underrated cities in Italy. It's a very wealthy city. It's actually the third largest industrial center in Italy, and around one fifth of the country's gold and jewelry are made here. There are many nice churches and elegant buildings and villas, and Vicenza has excellent medical facilities. And transport wise, it has its own railway station on the Milan to Venice railway line, and there are two airports, Treviso, Venice, and Verona, which are both less than 70 kilometers away. Now, although property prices have been on the rise, they are still, I think, very good value at an average of 1,750 euros per square meter. So less than 2,000 euros per square meter on average in a very, very rich city in Italy. Now, coming in at number 6 is the Riviera dei Cedri. Now, the Riviera dei Cedri is a beautiful stretch of Calabria's northern Tyrrhenian coastline, dotted with lovely seaside towns and villages where property costs a fraction of what it does on the Amalfi Coast. The beaches are magnificent, and there are many towns to choose from if you want to buy cheap property. In towns like Paola and Cetraro, real estate costs well under 1,000 euros per square meter on average. My personal favorite is Scalea, where you can find many cheap properties with sea views. Belvedere Marittimo, Diamante, and Praia Mare are also worth considering. And the great thing is that in all of these places, the population is less than 20,000. So the 7% tax rule on retirement applies for foreign pensioners here. So I think definitely worth considering this area of Italy to buy property. So let's get into the top 5. And coming in at number 5 is Genova. Now, with a population of around 563,000 and situated in the Liguria region of Italy, and indeed its capital, Genova has a lot to offer. There's a lot of great artwork, art galleries, palaces, an old port. There's a very large historic centre, part of which is on the World Heritage List. And there are two well known football teams, namely Genoa and Sampdoria. There are plenty of good restaurants in the city, and transport wise, it has railway stations, a bus station, seaport, and an international airport that flies to a number of destinations in Europe, including London, Paris, Amsterdam, Barcelona, Brussels, Bucharest, Budapest, Munich, Copenhagen, Warsaw, and Tirana. And given all this, I think property prices are very, very cheap here. So we are talking an average of around 1,650 euros per square meter. So again, under that 2,000 euros per square meter mark. Now, coming in at number 4 is Syracuse. Now, I sometimes find it difficult to believe that average real estate prices are less than 1,300 euros per square meter in Syracuse. This pearl of a city in Sicily is one of my favorites in Italy. Syracuse has one of the largest Greek theatres in the world. It has an amazing amphitheatre, lovely churches, an amazing cathedral, temples, castles, and a very famous archaeological museum. A big bonus is that there are nearby beaches as well, and the food here is delicious, and there are plenty of places to sit down and watch the world go by. Syracuse could be a good place as long term rental yields gross are high, and Airbnb is also good here. So it is actually, I think, also an investment opportunity. The only downside, I think, is accessibility to an airport. Now, coming in at number 3 is Palermo. Now, despite the fact that real estate prices have risen in Palermo to an average of nearly 1,500 euros per square meter, property is still very good value for money. Palermo, which is the capital and the most populous city on the island of Sicily, has a lot to offer. It is steeped in history. It has beautiful churches, palaces, and buildings from many different eras, including Romanesque, Gothic, Baroque, and Art Nouveau. Now, the really good thing here is that the food is delicious. And transport wise, you have an international airport that flies to many European destinations, plus Abu Dhabi and New York. And if that were not enough, there are also some lovely beaches nearby. So you've got the best of all worlds in Palermo, city living and the beaches. And that's why I think Palermo is still great value for money. Now, coming in at number 2 is Trieste. Now, Trieste is the capital of Friuli Venezia Giulia, and I think is an absolute gem of a city. Trieste is so beautiful and so underrated. It has many attractions, including two amazing castles, a 14th century cathedral, nice churches, and amphitheatre. And most important of all, a very, very high standard of living with exceptional medical facilities. What I like here is the mix, richer of Italian, Austrian, and Eastern European architecture, particularly in the actual main square. Trieste also has an international airport with direct flights to a number of European destinations, plus its a legal international status as a free port and is the gateway to the Suez Canal, the Med, and Eastern European. And prices are very reasonable at an average of 2,300 euros per square meter. But coming in at number 1, as you can see, is Turin. Now, Turin, the capital of the region of Piemonte, deserves, in my opinion, to keep its position as the number 1 place to buy property in Italy for the year 2025. Property prices on average are only just above 2,000 euros per square meter. And I think this is great value for a city that has so much to offer. Turin has a high standard of living, a great actual aerospace industry, a great auto industry, especially with the world famous Fiat. Medical facilities are excellent here, and the food is excellent as well. There are plenty of places to dine out, and I think Turin is a absolutely beautiful city with Baroque architecture, and it has a royal palace and many important museums, especially the Egyptian Museum. Turin also has two famous universities, two top tier football clubs, namely Juventus and Torino, and hosts the tennis ATP finals. As, of course, as said, there are many good eateries, and transport wise, Turin has its own metro system and an international airport that flies to numerous cities in Europe, plus Marrakesh and Casablanca in Morocco. So I actually think in the not too distant future, prices will begin to shoot up here. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Please let me know yours. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks ever so much for watching, and I shall see you soon on the next video.